GM. Today's lesson is about not panicking when things get crazy. Obviously, in every bull market, we're going to have multiple drawdowns. You're going to have some scary crashes. You're going to have bad news. You're going to have, the usual fear. And it doesn't matter how long you've been trading for. The same thought will always cross your mind. Is it over? And in fact, if you don't think that, it's a sign of complacency. A lot of people think that, if you've been around for 2 or 3 cycles, you're just immune to these crashes and you never even pay attention to them and you just fucking buy the dip and that's that. Nope, it's not that. Every time the market moves, you have to reanalyze, look at the charts, adjust your opinion based on the new information, right? So where did it move to? Has it broken key market structure levels? Is it a bearish setup now? Has the market actually flipped from bullish to bearish due to the strength of the move? And the point though, and the big difference between winning traders and losing traders in crypto is the winning trader knows every dip is a buy, right up until the very last one, for a few reasons. One, if you're able to buy the big liquidation crashes, spot only, and then you just wait, you can either exit on the bounce for a very easy, relatively easy and fast return if you're a shorter term trader. Or, of course, if the bull market continues and goes to new highs, you've bought the lows or close to them. The other point is if you trade through a full cycle, now we've already had 4, this is probably the 5th, 10% plus dip on Bitcoin, which means 20, 30, 40, even as high as 70% on alts over the weekend. So as you go through a full cycle, you're going to have 5 or even 10 of these dips. So if you did buy each of them, you would be right. Let's say there's 10. You'd be right 9 times and you'd be wrong on the last time. But you wouldn't be wrong because it'll still bounce, right? The bounce will still come. The difference is at one point there will be a bounce that is weak. It does not go to new highs and the market then trends lower. That is when the bear market begins. So you want to cleanse your mind of any bearish thoughts. It doesn't mean ignore. Absolutely doesn't mean to ignore the red flags. But the only option whenever you see these mass liquidations, the biggest liquidations we've had since 2021, absolute carnage on altcoins, big fear about war. The only thing that should be in your mind is buy or do nothing. Right? If you're already fully allocated and you don't have any cash on the sidelines, just do nothing. Stay in spot, don't use leverage. This stuff I always preach. And then if you do have cash on the sidelines, this is where you buy. Too many people get caught up worrying or wondering, yeah, but buy here, or is it going to go lower? But what if it doesn't make new highs? The what ifs don't matter. It's not about having certainty that the bull market's not over. The bull market could be over. But every single time the bull market's not over, it's a dip to buy. So you buy the dip. That's it. You just do. Question becomes, where do you buy? Right? Because obviously it doesn't just dip down once and then rally straight back. You have multiple different stages. It dropped from 73 down to 70, then it dropped to 65, then it went back to 70, then it dropped to 64 and it bounced up again. But then we had the big one all the way down, right down, touched below 60, big flush out, and obviously also got wrecked. Those ones, the most brutal, violent, with big liquidations, they're the ones you buy. Simple as. Now, when I say it's simple as, a big problem that people have, and a thing that makes them panic, and there's going to be more panic, by the way. This isn't over. There's absolutely going to be sideways chop. We might even go lower in the short term, because people are now readjusting to think, oh my god, my bags are down 70%, right? Some of these alts are literally down 70% from their highs. And one of the things that will make you panic is if you are viewing it as in how much you used to have. You have to remove the old number from your head. right? Just because something was up at $6 last week and now it's at $3, right? It doesn't mean that you've lost half your money. You can't lose in spot in a bull market unless you sell. It's unrealized. It's all unrealized. If something's going to go from $1 to $100, it's not going to go in a straight line, right? There's going to be multiple 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% corrections along the way. So if you bought at 1 and you sold at 100, you shouldn't be calculating all the stuff in between as if it's real money. It's not real money unless you decide to sell. So your unrealized profits and unrealized losses are something that you need to keep out of your mind. Too many people focus on how much unrealized profit they've lost. Because in theory, right, in hindsight, they're like, oh, but if I had sold at the top, I would have had 100 grand. Now it's only worth 60 or 50. But you didn't. And you were never going to. But also, if it went to 100, right, if your portfolio was up at 100k and then we've dipped down and you think the bull market's not over, then guess what? Those losses are unrealized as well. Your portfolio went to 100, came back to 50. So you're like, oh, I'm down 50. How are you down 50? It's unrealized losses. You're only down 50 if you sell. But if you do nothing, guess what? It's going to go back to 70, 75, 80. And if it's bearish, if it's all over, that's where it'll top. It won't go back to 100 again. And if it's still a bull market, guess what? It's going to go to 100 and 120, 140, 160, and so on. So don't make snap decisions, rash decisions in the midst of all the noise and all the panic and the fear. If anything, if you've got dry powder, spot, buy the dip. On coins you've researched, don't just spray and pray. Have a plan. You should have a plan. Anyone, if you've been here more than a week and you've been in crypto for more than a month, you should have some idea of what coins you want, because you probably came in when everything was pumping. You're like, oh, I'd love to have Solana, I'd love to have Akash, I'd love to have Bitcoin, but they're all up so high. Well, here's the dip, right? You don't want to buy them at the top. They're now not at the top, they're down. And if you think the bull market's not over, that's where you buy. Fear. It'll fuck you up if you let it, so keep that in mind.